In this position, let's compare every minor piece. Both of white's knights are on better central squares. Both of white's bishops are on better squares, and the rook on c1 is doing a better job than the rook on a8. Even though the pawn structure is symmetrical, white is better. Let's check out Carlsen versus Nakamura in the Chessable Masters. Welcome to the Chessable Masters, part of the Magnus Carlsen chess tour. The MC Invitational is over, Lindores Abbey is over, and Chessable Masters has begun, from June 20th up to July the 5th. This is the schedule. We are at the preliminary stages. These are the groups, A and B. In Group A, we have Carlsen, Nakamura, Grishuk, Dubov, Artemiev, Harikrishna. In Group B, MVL, Ding, Nepom, Caruana, Rajabov, Giri. Before we get to the quarterfinals, two players will be eliminated. The two players that have been eliminated are Dubov and Harikrishna. In this video, we will be checking out Carlsen versus Nakamura. By the end of this video, you'll be able to answer the following key points. Carlsen has white, Nakamura has black. The game began. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, bishop e7, the queen's gambit declined. Bishop f4, castle, and not e3 but a3, surprising Nakamura. In this position, knight d7 was played, but I want to look at what is the purpose of playing a3 a move earlier, because there's some move order subtleties I want to discuss. If you're not interested, just fast forward. You can see the timer in the bottom left corner. Now what happens if black played b6? I have a feeling Carlsen is going to castle, just like Daniel Dubov did against Rasmus Fan last year. An amazing king hunt of a game. I'll include a link to this in the top right corner. Queen c2, and if bishop a6, then he's going to castle queenside, and it could get very sharp. If queen c2, d takes c4, e4. After queen c2, if black played bishop a6, then take, and then castle. Now another option is if black struck in the center with c5, because we see this in the other variation of the queen's gambit. So just to show you, just going back a bit here, after castle, e3, knight d7, a3, c5. So the big difference between this and the game is there is a knight on d7 already. And there's a pawn on e3, so what's the difference? After a3, c5 straight away, take. And after bishop takes c5, e3, and if knight c6, b4. This is the difference, and you don't get this possibility in the other line. Bishop d6, you can take, and then bishop e2, and then play from here. After c5, let's have a look. Have we covered everything? One more option, dc4, very interesting, because now, instead of white just playing e3, he can actually play e4. Taking away the d5 square for the knight. So bishop c5 and then bishop c4, or you can swap queens off. After a3, back to the game, knight d7 played, and now knight b5. Attacking the c7 pawn, so you defend with knight e8, e3, and now d takes c4. Another option is to just kick the knight away with a6, and he can do that next. Bishop c4. But black played c5, keeping the knight on b5, giving Carlsen another option, and we'll see very soon. And now Carlsen took on c5. Black now chased the knight away, but he doesn't go back to the normal square c3, he goes to d4. And perhaps Nakamura missed this option. You don't get this often in the queen's gambit, or in many openings where the two knights support each other in this way. Bishop c5, castle. Queen e7. b5 looks good because then you can play bishop b7 next, but white can crash through with knight e6. Bishop e6 check, king h8, and looks very dangerous. Queen d5, the rooks can go to c1, d1. And there's just so much pressure. Back to the game. Castle played and queen e7, threatening e5. And queen e7, threatening e5. But it's not possible here. Carlsen can play rook c1. Now the bishop on f4 is very dangerous, so Nakamura wants to swap it off with bishop d6. Notice e5 is not possible because of bishop g5. And we can't play f6 because the bishop on c4 is pinning the pawn to the king. So just in time. And if you block with the knight, then this knight can come into f5. Queen e8, and it's just so dangerous. Knight can come into d6. Chase the bishop away with b4. After bishop g5 you could have moved the other knight. And then this knight has to move maybe to b3 or to e2, and white's better. After bishop d6, bishop back on a2. Now the rook on c1 has the open file, and knight f6. Notice you can't move the other knight to f6, and I won't tell you now because it reveals a tactic later on. Here you may be asking why not bishop takes f4, because after e takes f4, white's got more control of the center. The rook can go to e1, knight can go to e5. White has another f-pawn controlling the e5 square. So if we play on a little bit, knight f6, rook e1, and knight d6, you can go knight e5 now, or even f5. And white has a really nice position. So after bishop a2, knight f6 played, and knight e5. And we saw this position right at the beginning of the video. Every minor piece is better for white. The rook on c1 is better than the rook on a8. So after knight e5, Nakamura now plays knight d7. He spent 3 minutes on this move, which is a big deal because in this game, both sides got 15 minutes to start with. Now before we look at why knight d7 was a bad move, let's check out a few other options. If you go knight d5, you can actually just tuck the bishop back. Because f6 it looks like white is being kicked back, but there's a really cool tactic here with rook takes c8 using the a2 g8 diagonal. So if you take back, knight takes e6, we're crashing through in style. Wow. Bishop takes e5, knight takes rook, and if you take the knight, queen takes d5, it's just too strong. If you play rook d8 just to protect, you can grab on h7, you can grab here as well. Check, king f8, and then e4. Black played knight d7 and paused the video to find the tactic. What did white now play to get a winning position? I'll give you 5 seconds. White now played knight c6. Notice Nakamura spent 3 minutes. What was he hoping for? Knight takes d7, because things are coming off and then black's position is fine. Bishop d7, take. Black's okay. Rooks are now coming into the game. He has swapped off 2 minor pieces. But after knight c6, white is crashing through. Queen h4 played in the game. First question must be, why not take the knight? Because after knight c6, black is unable to hold on to this bishop because the queen on e7 must move. Queen f6, take. And white is a pawn up. Black cannot take on b2 because knight e7 check is winning. King h8, and then we can take here. Rook c8, we can swap off rooks first, very important, and then queen d7. So then this queen attacks this rook. Black does not have time to take the bishop on a2. Black played queen h4, bishop g3. Queen g5, Carlsen plays h4, another move that attacks the black queen. Queen to f6, knight g4. Queen and bishop are attacked. Queen takes b2 played, and bishop takes d6, attacking the rook. B takes c6 chosen by black, but what happens if knight d6? Knight on c6 is being attacked by the pawn, so let's move it. Knight e7 check, king h8, then queen d6, just like before. After queen a2, we take the bishop on c8, then we can swap off rooks, and then we can win a piece, just like before. So after bishop takes d6, b takes c6 played, rook c2, defending the bishop on a2, queen moves, and then we can take the rook. Take. Now white is winning. Let's see the rest. h5, h6, queen f3. Now he took on h5. But after queen f3, the point was to take on c6. And everything is hanging. The rook and the knight are hanging, so Nakamura goes knight c7. And Carlsen just goes queen f3, threatening knight f6 check. Really cool. If you take and take, white is still winning, but you wanted to go for this tactic, queen f3. Knight d5 stops that. Also, if you played a move like king h8, notice the rook was on the c-file. It can now take the knight. Knight to d5 stops knight f6 check because you can take. White just attacks the knight with e4. No need to simplify. This is a winning ending for white, but there's no need. Take, take. And then knight e5. And e4 does it, kicking the knight away. You can't move the knight because of this fork again. Check, take, and then queen takes queen. After e4, e5 played, and in this position, Carlsen now played knight takes h6 check, and black resigned. Here you could have just played bishop takes d5, but then after bishop takes g4, white is still winning, but knight takes h6 check is much stronger because it deflects the queen. This queen is protecting f7. But after knight takes h6 check, you have to take with the queen. Here black resigned, but let's just see what happens. If queen takes h6, bishop takes d5. And this is the vital difference. This queen is no longer here, protecting f7. Rook and f7 pawn are hanging. So if you move the rook to a7 to defend, the problem is the bishop on c8 drops. And you can't go rook b8 because you're just coming into f7, and that'll be game over. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. I hope you learned a few things from this video. Here are the key points. In the opening, after a3, black has a few other options. c5 or b6, but then Magnus may have played queen c2, just like Daniel Dubov did in his famous game against Rasmus Svan, getting ready to castle queenside. Kick the knight on b5 away with a6. Or else white can put the knight on d4, which is what Carlsen did in the game. Middle game tactics. Rook takes c8 was really nice in that variation. Knight dc6 was the key tactical move in this game. What I noticed was Carlsen kept attacking Nakamura's queen, gaining a lot of time. Moves like bishop g3, h4, knight g4. And then the finishing tactic, knight takes h6 check, winning the game. If you enjoyed the show, why not give the video a like and subscribe to the channel at the same time. When you hit that bell, you'll get notified each time I release a new video. Thank you for watching all the way until the end, and I will see you in a future video.